For me, it was books. I decided to take a speed reading course when I was 15 years old, and I was going to read a book a day, and I didn't do that. But I read 700 books in 7 years, all in the area of human development, psychology, physiology.
Pre-18.
Pre-18. Well, over 7 years, so starting at that time.
Got it.
And what it was I just got obsessed with wanting to know answers, because early on, for example, I was really small in high school, in junior high school. I was 5'1" my sophomore year in high school. I'm 6'7" now. I tell people the difference is personal growth.
10 inches in a year, right there.
But I had a tumor and didn't know it,
Yeah.
a pituitary tumor. It made me explode in size. And when people talk about growth pains, I mean, your muscles are stretching, it's brutal. But the point is, as I went through that process, I found myself in a place where books where I could go to another world. I could read Emerson's essays and I could feel that sense of autonomy and freedom. I could read Man's Search for Meaning and say, no matter what you went through, this guy went through, Auschwitz and survived and turned things around. How can I make my life work? And so, especially biographies, because when you read a biography, not an autobiography, but a biography written by the actual author, you're thinking their thoughts. And whatever thoughts you think over and over again develop habits and emotions and meaning in your life, right? So that became my way. Between that and sports is how I really managed it. But I also, early on, when I was 17, I went and heard this man named Jim Rohn, a personal development speaker. I think you probably have heard of.
Incredible.
And he was really amazing. He used to do this 3.5-hour seminar on how to, he turned his life around, became successful in various ways. And I was working for this gentleman. I was in high school, and I was, got my little growth spurt. And so the guy's like, he was successful flipping houses. And my family said, he used to be such a loser, my father said. Now he's so successful. And so one day he called and said, listen, your son looked to make some extra money. And I was always doing that. We were poor. I had to help support the family. So I had 2 jobs working as a janitor. I was like, yeah, I'll work on the weekend there. Let's do it. So I'm moving all the stuff, but I had a goal. I really want to know how he became so successful. Because my idea of success then is when you're poor is like you've done well in achievement. You've done well in economics, finance. And so one day he took me to lunch. He goes, you're such a hard worker. I'm taking you to lunch. And so he asked me a bunch of questions. I said, I want to ask you some questions. And he said, what do you want to know? I said, well, my father said you used to be such a loser and now you're so successful. I wasn't trying to be negative. As a kid, you don't think, right? And he started laughing because your father said, what? I said, well, he goes, well, it's true. I said, well, what changed you? He said, I went to a seminar. I said, what's a seminar? He said, this man comes and he takes 20, 30 years of his life and he crunches that down to like 3.5 hours and shows you the shortcuts to make your life as successful as it could be. I said, well, I'd like to go to that. He said, I think you should. I said, well, how much is it? And he said, $35, to be like $250 today.
This is still Jim Rohn.
This is Jim Rohn, but this is the guy that had gone and attended, right? And he goes, so it'd be like $250 in today's dollars. But for me, I'm making $40 a week as a janitor, so it's a week's worth of pay. And I said, well, can you get me in? He said, sure. I said, well, will you? And he said, no. I said, why not? He goes, you won't value it if you don't pay for it. And I go, look, man, I'm making $40 a week. That's a week's pay. He goes, okay, well, figure it out on your own. Take 10 or 20 years and figure it out on your own if you want to do that, or learn faster through this and make the investment in yourself. So it was like, to me, the biggest decision of my life at that point, it felt like, because it's like a week's pay. I mean, and I went to that seminar and I took notes like a crazy person. And I was finishing some of Jim Rohn's statements because I read all these books. So it's like, I recognized them. I was like this wild person in the middle of the event. And afterwards, I went up and I thought, I'm gonna change the world. I'm 17 years old. I'm gonna run for president. First, I'll run for Senate. Before that, I'll do Congress. Before that, I'll do local state assembly.
Aspirations at the time.
I thought that how I'd serve most. And then I'll start by my high school. I'll run for my student body president of my high school. And I was not the most popular kid in school at all. And I did it in a real campaign. I went and talked to all the groups and found out what they wanted and told them the truth, what could be done and what I thought couldn't be done. And I won. I beat the most popular kid in school. And so that taught me that if you're real and raw and you truly serve, popularity doesn't matter. You'll get through to people. And it was a marker in my life to make those things happen. But all of these situations stacked. And then I was so involved in personal development, and I really wanted to learn how to do more. And I finally got a chance to go to work for Jim Rohn at 17 years old. And my mom kicked out my father. He went back east. And on Christmas Eve, she kicked me out and chased me out with a knife. I knew she wasn't going to kill me or stab me, but I wasn't going back in the house. She kept my 1968 Volkswagen. I'd worked $40 a week to earn. And I slept on the hill one night. It was raining. And then the next day, I was like, I can't stay in the rain. I went to this girlfriend's house, a girl that was a friend, not a girlfriend. And they let me stay in their little, washing machine room. And then I took the little money I had, and I took these buses, and I bought a book. I went to Claremont, California. It was about 15 miles away. And I bought this book at this bookstore called The Magic of Believing by Claude M. Bristol. And it talked about how to program your mind. And I was writing on the mirror in the laundry room all my goals. And I made these posters that only a idiot gets depressed, only a loser gets depressed. It's not true, but that was my way of leveraging myself, right? And I started to make these changes. And then I tried to go to work for Jim Rohn, and it was Christmas, so I had to keep working as a janitor. And what changed my life was finding that part that's inside of all of us that will not give up. And I was taking buses now because I had no car to go to San Marino, California. It was about an 18-mile place, but the number of buses you had to take took about almost 2 hours, 90 minutes to 2 hours. I go clean the banks because I could do 2 banks. I wasn't paid by the hour, it's by performance, and I could do an amazing job. And I left notes for people as if I was there. I was so connected. 2 a.m. I was on that bus to get home, and 3:30 a.m. or 4 I was going to bed and getting up 4 hours later to go to school and be student body president. And I was burning out, but one night I got to the bus stop on time, made it there at 2 a.m., no bus, 2:15, no bus, 2:30, no bus, 2:45, no bus. I had no one call. I'm 17 miles from home at least, right? Like, what am I going to do? And then all of a sudden a car pulls up, rolls down the window, goes, "Hey, bud, didn't you see there's a bus strike? There's no buses coming."
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
No. And so I was like, what am I going to do? And what am I going to do? And I was like, I'm going to run home. I am going to run the entire way. And my first starting out was just rage. It was like, I'll show her, my mom, for kicking me out. We're super close. No, she's passed away, but we weren't at that time, as you might guess. But anger only gets you so far. It's a fuel that burns out very quickly. So I started thinking about those books and programming your mind. I started doing these, not just affirmations where you go, I'm happy, but where you shout it, you engage your body, and I was running and going, every day and every way, I'm getting stronger and stronger. And I do that. And I changed the word every day and every stronger and stronger. And then I do that for 20 minutes, and then I do healthier, and then I do happier. And I ran 16 of the 17 miles. Last mile I walked, and it changed my life forever. To this day, that source of energy, that source of strength, that source of that I'll push through is a part of who I am. But it usually comes from challenge. If you look at the history of the world, good times create weak people. They're not bad people. They just have never been challenged. It's like a muscle. You're a bodybuilder. I built my body. You don't get it by taking something light. You do something unbelievably difficult. And you're going to do 10 curls and you can barely do 10 curls. That 12 is where all the growth is, right? So I had these experiences that challenged me so strongly, and I met the challenge, and it changed my sense of identity about who I was and what I was capable of. And then I couldn't help but spread that. I lost 30 pounds and helped my friends lose 30 pounds, and they started getting girls. And then I got addicted to knowing the answers, like being able to give people the answer to anything, their body, their emotions, their relationships. And so that obsession still continues to this day. And I've been doing this 48 years.
Tony, I want that.